Also, this allegation of hypocrisy, it's another one of those statements that they sound really good, but if you analyze it, you see that it completely falls apart. Because if somebody is promoting good, are they a hypocrite for not wanting others to promote evil? Does that make them a hypocrite? How nonsensical is it to say, hey, you want society to adopt your good, righteous values? Well, stop being a hypocrite and allow other people to spread their wicked degeneracy in society. If this is considered hypocrisy, then I'm certain that the person who posted this message is not going to be free from such hypocrisy themselves. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome all viewers. So sometimes I'll get asked by people, how should I discuss our views regarding LGBT with supporters of that movement? Obviously, this can be a very contentious topic. There are people who get canceled because they take a certain stand against the LGBT community. So today I figured it might be a good exercise to analyze a comment that was posted under yesterday's video, which was titled "Another Story of LGBT Pushed on Students." And hopefully it will help some of us better understand our own position and be more firm in it, while also understanding how we can have discussions about this topic with people who disagree with us. So first, I will just read the comment in its entirety and think about your initial reaction, your first impression of this comment, and then we'll go through, we'll analyze it, we'll dissect it, and then we'll see how you feel after that, inshallah. So the comment says, "You seem to have something of an obsession with LGBT issues. Bearing in mind that one is born LGBT, it is incumbent on you to accept and respect those for whom this is their God-given nature. People choose their religion, not their sexuality, yet you seem unwilling to extend the same tolerance and acceptance towards LGBT people that you demand as a Muslim from non-Muslims. This borders on hypocrisy." So at face value, some of those points might seem strong. It might seem like this person got me. And sometimes when we're put on the spot like this, it can be difficult to think on our feet and really analyze what's being discussed. And this is why this exercise is good. Firstly, it's so crucial for us to understand as Muslims that we have the strongest foundation, because our foundation is based on divine revelation from Allah, from the Creator, from the all-knowing, the all-powerful. As Muslims, when this is our foundation, we understand the meaning of life. We understand where we can truly derive truth from. And we know that Islam is the one true preserved religion from the Creator. So anything deviating from that is astray, is misguidance. And first and foremost, we have to internalize that and be firm upon that ourselves. Allah created us. Allah created this universe, this world in which we reside. We understand this is a test. We're going to die and we are going to be resurrected and we are going to be judged by Allah. So more important than having these discussions and debates and convincing anyone else and giving dawah to anyone else, these are things that we need to focus on for our own hereafter. So that's the number one thing to take away from this, is that we want this to boost our own iman. We want to be firm on the truth for our own good. And once we have that, if we're in a situation where we can invite others to the truth, then that's excellent. If there are people who are genuine and you can have a beneficial discussion, then that's great. But in many cases, it might not be worth having a discussion or having a debate. You can just say, to you, your religion, and to me, my religion. But at least foundationally understand and always remember that we get our religion, we get our truth, our understanding of right and wrong from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the all-knowing. If you ask many of these other people, if you just sort of bypass these little particular issues regarding everyday society, and you just ask them, well, what's the purpose of life? How did we get here? Do you believe in God? If you don't believe in God, then how did we get here? What's the purpose of life? What happens when we die? If you do believe in God, well, then why don't you follow the revelation that He sent? And these are actually much more important foundational conversations to have than these other specific topics that branch off from that foundation. So with all that said, let's start analyzing this comment piece by piece. So the first sentence says, "You seem to have something of an obsession with LGBT issues." Now, right off the bat, always keep in mind in these discussions, you have to separate your own personal emotions from the topic. So this is really, it's a personal attack. It's a personal insult. Because when people say that you have an obsession with something, it's meant to sort of belittle you. and to exalt whatever it is that you are allegedly obsessed with. The reality is, even if I were obsessed with LGBT, what does that have to do with anything? That has nothing to do with anything that I was discussing in my video. But the truth of the situation is the reason that we're talking about LGBT issues is because it's the rest of the powers that be and all these other people in society who are obsessed with shoving it down everyone's throats. So it's very ironic that these people would be constantly talking about it, trying to teach it to our kids, trying to train us at work to adopt their ideology, day in, day out, beating us all over the head with this agenda, canceling people if they don't take the right stance according to them. And then as soon as somebody says, wait a second, what's going on here? Can you guys stop doing that, please? They say, you're obsessed. No, the reality is that us having these discussions and posting these videos, it's a response to this agenda being forced on us. If we go to the next sentence, this person says, bearing in mind that one is born LGBT, it is incumbent on you to accept and respect those for whom this is their God-given nature. Now, this is a loaded sentence. There's a lot going on here, a lot of implications. So firstly, this person says that one is born LGBT. Now, this is just a completely false statement. How can you possibly try to claim that a baby is born being a lesbian or being gay or being bisexual or being transgender? How can you possibly pretend that their environment and how they're raised and what they're taught and what they experience growing up doesn't affect their perspective on these issues? But even more importantly, if we were to hypothetically say that they were born LGBT, just for the sake of argument, this person is saying that because somebody is born a particular way, you have to accept and respect it. So no matter what a human being does, as long as they were born that way and it's part of their nature, we have to accept and respect that? No, of course not. If somebody's born with inclinations towards being a complete sociopath who's violent and abusive and wicked, do we have to start promoting that? Do we have to accept it and respect it and shove it down everyone's throats? No, because just because it's part of somebody's nature, just because somebody's allegedly born a certain way, that doesn't make it right. So a very, very nonsensical statement. It sounds good at face value, which a lot of these things do. They sound really good at face value. But as soon as you sort of think deeply about it a little bit, and you start getting to the root, the foundation, remember, we should always keep in mind the foundation, then you'll notice that a lot of these arguments make no sense. Because foundationally, this is saying that if somebody's born a certain way, then you have to accept and respect it. Not to mention that it's a false premise to begin with, because you can't say that people are born LGBT. But if they were, that doesn't make it right just because they're born a certain way. But another thing that's interesting is that they have the nerve to say it's in their God-given nature. They want to bring God into this. And this is really disingenuous, because if you really care about God, then submit to the revelation that he sent. Otherwise, don't speak about God without knowledge. But let's say that we can interpret this statement, God-given nature, as, okay, it's the will of God for certain people to have certain inclinations. Well, God gave us the ability to choose. Human beings, we have a freedom of choice. We can do that which is good, and we can do that which is bad. Again, if it's in somebody's God-given nature to be an evil sociopath, God has given humans the ability to do very evil things. That doesn't mean you accept and respect and promote and spread and teach in schools those evil things just because God gave us the ability to do them. So again, you see how foundationally these arguments, they really don't make any sense. They're not consistent. Because if they were consistent, then they would have to say, yeah, however somebody's born, that's how you can be. Anything that God has given us the ability to do as human beings, we have to accept and respect that. But no, they're picking and choosing based on their own whims, desires, and conjectures. And that's their foundation. Our foundation is divine revelation. Their foundation is whims, desires, and conjecture. So the next sentence says, people choose their religion, not their sexuality. Well, this is another loaded statement that's filled with falsehoods and assumptions. Why is it that somebody can choose their religion but not their sexuality? Surely people can choose who they have sexual relations with. I mean, there's clearly a choice there. Also, when it comes to choosing a religion, I remember when I was growing up, I was taught a particular religion. I was raised Christian. My parents took me to church. When I asked questions about God and religion, they taught me the Christian perspective. That wasn't my choice. Now, obviously, as I got older and I became an adult, Yeah, I was able to choose my religion. But what about these kids in school who are extremely impressionable, just like I was when I was being taught and raised to be a Christian? They're being taught and raised to be LGBT. There are documentaries out there where it clearly shows that there are parents encouraging their children to change their gender, encouraging them to take hormones, to undergo therapy. There are children being indoctrinated with these ideas about sexuality. At least when it comes to religion, when you get older, you're more free to choose what religion you want to follow at that point. But if you're raised and you're given hormone treatment, you take all sorts of medicine, you pump your body with chemicals, you have less of a choice than if you just wanted to choose a religion. And this is why there are all kinds of stories and interviews online about people who they were raised to think that, okay, well, I guess I'm a different gender than I was born. So they undergo all this treatment. And then later in life, when they're older, they're adults, they realize that they made the wrong decision. They shouldn't have done this to themselves. But unfortunately, they'll never be the same because they did too many things to their body that they can't reverse. And then lastly, they say, yet you seem unwilling to extend the same tolerance and acceptance towards LGBT people that you demand as a Muslim from non-Muslims. This borders on hypocrisy. So this is another false premise and a personal attack. Number one, what do I demand as a Muslim from non-Muslims? Is Islam being promoted and pushed and forced upon the population in the same way that the LGBT agenda is? It's not even close. It's not even comparable. Also, this allegation of hypocrisy, it's another one of those statements that they sound really good, but if you analyze it, you see that it completely falls apart. Because if somebody is promoting good, are they a hypocrite for not wanting others to promote evil? Does that make them a hypocrite? How nonsensical is it to say, hey, you want society to adopt your good, righteous values? Well, stop being a hypocrite and allow other people to spread their wicked degeneracy in society. If this is considered hypocrisy, then I'm certain that the person who posted this message is not going to be free from such hypocrisy themselves. So anyways, hopefully that was beneficial, and hopefully that will help some of you be more firm in your position, and hopefully it'll help you understand how you can dissect some of these arguments, and you can pass through a lot of the distractions and get right to the core. But again, most importantly is that you yourself are on the straight path. You don't need to argue and debate all the time. If it is beneficial, then by all means, you can have good discussions with people and you can try to invite them to the truth. But at the end of the day, to you, your religion, to me, my religion. Allah knows best. Thank you for watching. JazakumAllahukhairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.